So we wait for it, we yearn for it, we live for it, but the WWE Royal Rumble 2020 is done, and I am just going to give a round of applause. I'm going to warn you now, I absolutely love this show. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying there weren't some bits and wanted to make you take your hand and slam it right into your face like what on earth is going on. But mostly, from the start to the finish, I had a rollicking good time and it put a smile on my face. But my name is Simon Miller. You are watching What Culture Wrestling. I will bow and say thanks very much for joining me. But we are going to take the finger of power and we are going to give the good bits an up and we are going to give the bad bits a down from the Royal Rumble that ended around about 12 hours ago. The pre-show was first, obviously, because the clue's in the name, don't worry about that. And it featured Sheamus versus Shorty G, the Walking Biscuit Instagram post. And we had Andrade taking on Humberto Carrillo for the United States Championship. And I did think that was just a little bit odd, because both those programs have had time on TV, they've been telling a story, and here they were kind of just walked out to die. I suppose the real issue is that WWE now needs to retrain us that we should care about the kickoff show, and it's not a waste of time, but that is their fault, because you remember everything that happened at Survivor Series 2018. Even still, down. They weren't bad matches, but ultimately Shorty G didn't really even get a look in, so what was the point of that? And you could kind of argue the same for Carrillo. Right? Andrade just rolled him up using the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll up, and then we just moved on. Shall never talk about this again. The show then opened properly and it was Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin in a Falls Count Anywhere match, and I'm just gonna shoot in your face nice and straight. That rhyme. Somebody give me a prize. It was easy to watch because we were in a baseball stadium. It looked all different and some of the camera angles because of that were really cool, and when it was done I was like, okay, fine, not a problem. Up. The low point, of course, is when Michael Cole referred to Roman Reigns' gear as a battle vest. And straight away, I had visions of Roman Reigns walking around backstage going, it's a battle vest. By the way, don't know whether you can see what I'm wearing here, but it's a battle vest, and everybody else in that locker room being, I know we all respect Roman. Sometimes he just winds me up. It was like a kid that gets mad at their dad because they don't know the correct names of all the Pokemon. But all of that aside, look, they just fought around a giant venue and they threw each other into stuff. Like there was a table, so they threw each other into that. There was another table, so they threw each other into that. Then they saw a porta potty, so Roman Reigns chucked Baron Corbin in there and just started throwing him around. And obviously, when the King came out, he was covered in poo and he was covered in crap and wee. That last bit didn't happen. And there was a load of goo-goo gaga here because Dolph Ziggler was out and Bobby Roode was out, and then the Usos came out to balance the odds. Fair play to the Usos. They took some crazy dives off some of the scaffolding, but once this had gone for around about 20 minutes, Roman Reigns just speared Baron Corbin's ass in the dugout. That was kind of like a nice moment. And he won. Okay, good, fine. I will describe it as a good match to end a not very hot feud. But please, look, I'm putting my hands together. Please, 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 let it be the end of the feud. Just as a little aside as well, because it is such groundbreaking news and it has affected so many people, Kobe Bryant obviously passed away in just an absolutely, well, quite frankly, unbelievable helicopter crash that happened on Sunday night. And WWE did pay tribute to him after the Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin match, so I only thought it was fair we did the same here. I mean, if you were a fan of Kobe Bryant, or of course if you're a friend or a family member, I can't even imagine what you're going through. It just puts things like wrestling and the Royal Rumble into perspective. Again, truly, truly mind-blowing, but I hope somehow everything is going to be all right. We were then straight into the Women's Rumble, and no word of the lie, this was the best one out of the three that WWE has done. I mean, we brought new stars, we had a bunch of stories going on. Let's get it up. Alexa Bliss and Bianca Belair were the first two into the ring, and it was the latter where WWE had gone, we are going to push this person to the moon, because not only was she eliminating loads of people because of her hair, but she was also staying in the squared circle because of her hair, which means I can live vicariously through Bianca Belair, because if you haven't noticed, I am a bald asshole. And even Alexa was using it so she wouldn't get eliminated. She just held on as if she was going for a bike ride. And I did realise during this Royal Rumble, I have a very dark side in my brain, because as soon as Nikki Cross came out, I think she was number 5, and Alexa Bliss obviously was already in there. I thought, Alexa Bliss, I want you to turn on Nikki Cross right now. Then I felt ashamed of myself. Instead, they had a lovely hug. But all of that and nearly everything that else happened in this 4-hour show was insignificant when it came to the plan between Otis and Mandy Rose. This was better than Hogan versus Andre, and it's getting its own up. Because for you see, at one point Rose was thrown over the top rope, but by magic, who was lying there on the floor? It was, of course, Otis, and he caught Mandy, and their love continued to blossom. He then put her back in the ring, and she was able to keep going, even when Sonya Deville, obviously her tag team partner, accidentally knocked her off again, but Otis, the heavy machine, caught her for the second time. Fortunately, it all then went bad because Sonya was then knocked off the apron, and while he tried to catch her too, he wasn't able to do it, and they all fell down on a heap. But this is the kind of subplot I'm talking about. I was so happy this was happening. I even felt a little bit emotional, and that happened numerous times throughout this Royal Rumble event. I don't know what's wrong with me. And there was more of it too, because obviously it was Liv Morgan that eliminated Lana, and then because it is the Royal Rumble and there are actually no rules, Lana then eliminated Liv Morgan, even though, we said this 12 months ago, but I'll say it again, even though that is like having some kind of sports competition, one team goes out of the competition and they see another match going on, they're like, we're just going to come back on the field and help somebody else win, and all the officials go, yeah, I don't really care, man. Just want to go home and eat some Doritos. So I guess we just go with it. Not gonna lie, never change. And it wasn't perfect because, as I had predicted on Ups and Downs, Sarah Logan went into the damn thing and Charlotte Flair grabbed her and just chucked her out. So what the hell was the point of any of that? But we also did have some prizes because Mercedes Martinez was in there, so was Beth Phoenix, and we had Kelly Kelly, who was happier than a child on Easter Day when parents say you can just eat chocolate and we're not going to tell you off. And when Charlotte entered, that is when the gears started to shift and the gears started to turn because things started to get serious. And you can double that when we got the number 30 entry that was Shayna Baszler. And there's some hate in certain circles of the internet for Shayna Baszler. I think she's just so legit, and I just believe everything she does. And I was stood here on this spot, not true, I'm sat over there, because, you know, I don't watch TV standing up, it would be weird. And I was like, I think Baszler should win. And that's what I wanted. Go watch my predictions video. I was all for her, but I just knew deep down in my heart they were gonna give it to Mrs. Wu. And talking about rage on the internet, it was Charlotte that got her hand raised because she eliminated Shayna Laughed. And while there's loads of people out there going, this was terrible, it's the worst thing ever, somebody stabbed me in the face because I can't handle it, I am going to stay calm and I'm going to let this play out because we've got to give a compliment to WWE. Over the last few weeks, they have been very keen to start stories and let them play out. So I don't know what direction this is going to go in. Also, you know, maybe we're meant to be pissed off because Charlotte right now, well, actually, no, to do that, we've got to do this. Hello and welcome to the second episode of Heel or Face, somewhat coincidentally, also featuring Charlotte Flair, who we focused on in episode 1 of Heel or Face. But when Charlotte Flair had won the Rumble, there was this big question, well, is she a heel or is she a face? Because over the last few weeks, we haven't been able to make heads or tails of it. So let's get our spinny wheel, let's give it a roll where it's going to stop. We shall find out, and yes, Charlotte Flair is a heel, and given that's 2 for 2, I think it is set in stone. Even more so because after she had won the Rumble, she got on the microphone and she acted like an absolute asshole. So if you remember that, and we did get pissed off with her victory, maybe that was the point. But yeah, maybe she's finally an established heel. I mean, it took a while. And I don't know, maybe she says she's going to go down to NXT and take on Rhea Ripley for that championship. I mean, I very much doubt that's going to happen, but I'm not going to stand here and get super duper angry when I don't know what's going to happen on Raw. Especially because when you look at this thing overall, it was absolutely faboo. Bonkers, but faboo. For those who are also losing their mind that Sasha Banks wasn't in it, unfortunately Sasha Banks is injured, so that's nobody's fault. Let's just hope she gets better. I'm not even going to talk about the Santina stuff. I'm tired. I was up till 4 in the morning. You can just argue about it in the comments. Let's instead shine a light on Beth Phoenix, who had her head smashed open halfway through the match to the point she had like Ric Flair blood all over her face and in her hair, and she just kept going. What a damn trooper. Again, brilliant stuff. Unfortunately, something was always going to have to follow this, otherwise, you know, the show would have ended and then you would have been super mad because nothing that you had advertised would have been played. Anyway, it was Bayley versus Lacey Evans for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And the real issue they had is that while we did have somewhat of a breakthrough on Friday, because Lacey finally felt a little bit more like a good guy, I didn't really care. The fans were exhausted. It was kind of just there. Down. And it wasn't rubbish, don't get me wrong, and Bayley did win with the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. But even though she held the tights, this is where it got really odd, the commentators only mentioned that once, and then just went, well, this just proves Bayley is a dominant champion. Bayley is amazing. What are you talking about? She cheated, you dicks. I don't really know where you go with this next. I have no idea what the plan for Lacey is. It just doesn't really light my fires. It was kind of the same for Daniel Bryan versus The Fiend in a strap match for the Universal title too. But the difference here is that Daniel Bryan is one of the greatest wrestlers to have ever lived. He just somehow has voodoo powers that make you buy in, and halfway through, well, he invested me, giving it up. And it was too long and there was no way the belt was going to change hands, but as I have just mentioned, Bryan has a way of making you believe just enough, and when he started his comeback and when he started his shine, he flies so elegantly like a bird that, I don't know, has just left the nest for the first time and the mother's crying, I can't believe my bird, he's done so well. But yeah, it was really, really good. There was a point when he got a near 2 count, I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to do it. So it really was a match of two halves, the first being slightly, well, I guess, nonchalant, and the second feeling like your brain was going to explode. And also, there was no red light. So even if you are looking for a positive, you can drag that out and rub it in your face. No red light. Alas, our original thoughts were correct, and ain't no way Bray Wyatt was going to lose it at the Royal Rumble. And then he just started doing his no-sell stuff. He's being whipped with the strap. He's like, I don't care about the strap anymore. I've turned on my Wolverine powers. So he took his fingers, he ran them down Daniel Bryan's throat, and he got the 1, 2, 3. But I do think we should throw out quite a lot of respect for these two competitors, especially Daniel Bryan's back that got whipped so many times with that strap. It looked like a damn pincushion. So yeah, it was okay. It was okay, and given that it was surrounded by things that I thought were top-notch, still sitting there having a good old time. We had one last singles match before we got to the Men's Royal Rumble, and it was, of course, Becky Lynch versus Asuka. And everything I've said for those past two matches, just drag it in. I mean, it was probably the best of all three, but it was just an entertaining, simple hoorah-rah up. Kairi Sane came out with Asuka, and I want to throw all the love her way, because she was not only great here just doing her outside heel work, but she was amazing in the Royal Rumble, where she came out with an umbrella, climbed to the top rope, and then floated down like she was damn Mary Poppins. I don't understand how WWE can't see what they have with Kairi Sane. She just got something to her. And outside of that, we just told this story that Becky Lynch really struggles to try and put Asuka away. So you know what she did when the Empress of Tomorrow tried to spit mist into her face. She booted her in her gut. Asuka went and spat it all in the air like she was Triple H. That was enough of a distraction, I suppose. Becky Lynch locked on the disarmer. Asuka taps out. That debt has been paid for the man. And yes, I know you're going to say, what if we do Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch WrestleMania 36? Okay, maybe they come up with a really good narrative that makes you go, oh, this is really fun. Wait and see. And nothing else, Becky Lynch retained her World Championship. Everybody wanted that. I didn't. I thought there was a better narrative if Asuka won and then you went to WrestleMania, whatever. Don't worry about it, but that's cool. They gave you a good person winning a good match. Let's just calm down again. And when it comes to the Men's Royal Rumble, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I don't even care. I don't even care. Fire me. I'm already fired. Another Ric Flair reference, but it told stories and it's built to something that could be absolutely huge. Come WrestleMania, it is getting an up. Powerful up, a real up. Because for you see, it was dedicated into segments, the first being the Brock Lesnar show. And I know this wound some people up, but again, because of the payoff, it made me want to rip out the hair I have left and just throw it around the room because I'm enjoying myself so much. He was just throwing everybody out that dared get in his face, and it was one of the best Brock performances we have seen for ages. Now, this wasn't perfect. There were some people that got in there, and again, made me facepalm, like we were talking about in the intro, such as John Morrison. I mean, he has been back 3 seconds, and that's around about the same time he lasted when he took on the Beast. And I'm sorry, you could have found anyone else for that role as a doubt. However, some people seem to have missed that this is all about telling stories. And if you're watching WWE and don't expect stories, you living in the crazy world, it may as well be called World Wrestling Stories. Because at one point, Kofi Kingston came out, so you kind of got a little bit of revenge for Kofi, even though you didn't. But then he was backed up by Rey Mysterio. So if you've been watching Raw over the last few weeks, you're like, oh, look, I'm being rewarded because I was a loyal viewer. I mean, yeah, they got thrown out because they weren't able to stop Brock, which did, put a little bit of a tear in your eye, but it was going somewhere else. It was going somewhere even bigger, and that all happened when Drew McIntyre, the Scottish psychopath, marched to the damn ring. He was the man anointed to throw out Brock Lesnar, and he did this after Ricochet had kicked Brock right in the balls. And if you are keeping up to date with ups and downs, officially that is now the second most devastating move in all sports entertainment. And in the Brock Lesnar universe, it's number one. Everybody just kicked Brock Lesnar in the penis. But that did allow Drew to Claymore kick Lesnar over the top rope, and oh my gosh, the fans went nuts. I know some of you went nuts. I went nuts, and it was it felt like such a big deal. I got goosebumps on my arm. I'm like, why have I got goosebumps on my arm? Again, I am sitting there. This is happening in Texas. It felt like WWE was finally going, that's it, we're done, we're not going to play around anymore. Mr. McIntyre, you can be a star. And by the end of this, that had been doubled down on. And there was also some comedy and funny bits before Brock went out of there, like Shelton Benjamin. He entered, and if you know the story between Shelton and Brock, they used to be pals back in university. So he was hugging Paul Heyman and he was hugging Brock. But you don't dress Lesnar. He whooped his ass and threw him out. Now, I love Shelton, but was I entertained by this? You damn right. Also, Keith Lee was in there, and he shoulder tackled Brock Lesnar like he was a truck. He now feels like a bigger star. You can probably tell I was marking out a lot. And MVP was in it. MVP, and apparently he's going to have a few matches as well. Also, if this does lead to Drew beating Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania for the world title, stop that, that's too much. It's all worth it. I mean that 100%. In case you are wondering, Elias was second in. Try to sing a little song, and Brock Lesnar eliminated him. As for the second part of all of this, well, that just transitioned into a normal Rumble, but again, the highlight was on trying to make Drew McIntyre just like the coolest person on the damn planet. And we also had one more last emotional return, because after weeks, maybe even months of rumors and speculation, Edge did indeed come in at 21. And again, you're talking about emotion. This is the third time I've mentioned it. I felt like crying because you could just see it on his face. He was so happy. Therefore, I was so happy. Instead, I got a pillow and I just smacked it around because I thought, well, it's weird. It made me think, what am I doing? And that did work. I really liked this. I really did. That was a real laugh. I genuinely had a good time. So like I keep doubling down on stories, payoffs, it was all there. Even Edge and Randy Orton had a little brouhaha because they used to be rated RKO. And I know that's the worst tag team in the history of wrestling. I don't care, whatever. Now the rumor is they're going to have a match at WrestleMania. I will take it. And as crazy as I am going, I am aware of the niggles here. Of course, like Matt Riddle was a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble, and rumors earlier in the day is that he had kind of fallen out with Brock Lesnar because, Matt Riddle likes to talk online. Sometimes he focuses on Brock. So they had not like a real fight, but what are you doing? I'm going to kick your ass. And they're both from the MMA world too. And it wouldn't surprise me if politically Riddle then got screwed over because he was in there for 30 seconds. And of all people, Baron Corbin threw him out. You shouldn't be doing that. If you treat Matt Riddle right, he will be a main event player, so that gets it down. We'll zoom forward to the last few moments, otherwise we'll be here all day, and I think I need to lie down. You can probably figure out why. So we'll talk about Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, Seth Rollins. That feud is going to continue because those two dudes are out of there after AOP and Buddy Murphy were just helping their new leader, like they were outside catching people and getting in there and beating everybody up. And then Seth was eliminated because he realized he was in the ring with a bunch of dudes he'd been slagging off for the last few weeks, so that was nice too. He got his comeuppance. Don't be a bully. And that brought us to our final four, which was of course Edge, Orton, Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns, the latter of which was giving fear to people across the world. We even teased some cool stuff here because Randy Orton and Edge may have been teaming together, but then Randy was like, I'm gonna RKO him, and Edge caught him and then he screwed him over and chucked him over the top rope. It was all going on. And Edge simply being in there was a plus because every time he brawled with someone, you're like, ooh, fantasy match. Ooh, fantasy match. But I do agree that WWE should not have allowed Roman Reigns to throw him out of there. Like, that was always going to get booed. Sometimes it does beg belief. Thankfully, Roman Reigns didn't win the Rumble, so now nobody cares. Because as you already figured out by process of elimination, they, unbelievably, to me anyway, I can't believe they actually did it. They gave it to Drew McIntyre, and I think that pleases everybody. I haven't had one person say, they want Drew McIntyre to win the Royal Rumble. That's not true. There's always one person, but you could have picked anyone. Unless a hand was going to come out of the screen and grab them and put them in the Rumble and someone whisper, you're winning the Royal Rumble, they would have been annoyed. But he did claim or kick the big dog out of there. And surely all of this does mean we are going to take all this power that Brock Lesnar already had, plus the extra power he's just got by having one of the best Rumble performances in history, and we are going to bestow that upon Drew McIntyre. That has to be the main event at WrestleMania 36. Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar. And for the people going, well, I don't think Drew's ready for that, we have 3 months to ensure he feels like the biggest deal in the world. This was a fantastic Royal Rumble. Give me my overall arrow and give it an up. I don't even care if you get mad today. It's one of those things I am so sure of my opinion, I will embrace the hate and I will just be a happy chap. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's Royal Rumble. You can also call me a bald asshole, that's fine. Like, share, and subscribe. Going over to WhatCulture.com, do we have some articles for you? Watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling, do we have some videos for you? And keep up to date with everything going on in the wrestling world at What Culture WWE on that there Twitter. My name is Simon from What Culture. You're damn right, I just gushed about the Royal Rumble. I love wrestling, and I love when it's good. Now I need to sleep. Probably have like bloodshot eyes. I was up a long old time, but I don't even care. I will see you tomorrow when we up those downs for Raw. I cannot wait. Don't screw me over, WWE, then I'll be mad.